Welcome, my name is Tashana and this is StarMade. And today we're going to continue working on this Borg cube as started last episode. Because why not? And resisting it is futile after all. Okay, I know it's a bad pun, but I had a lot of fun with this build so far. And this is still going to be our testing ship to further our knowledge about the new systems. And perhaps learn some other tricks to, well, basically learn a bit more how to incorporate the things in my existing builds, especially my city ship, because I still want to continue that. But I did add a whole lot of shields to that build before the system changes were implemented. So yeah, I need to know what to do with the existing setup I had for my city ship. And this is big enough, I think, to get a comparable idea on what I can do with it. But anyway, we will continue developing the exterior of this cube, but I also want to talk about what this cube should be able to do as far as weapons and systems is concerned. So let's grab my interface for a bit and try to figure this out. Because if I remember correctly, the Borg themselves had a couple of standard weapons that all their cubes would have. And we can see if we can get a sort of similar setup going for this cube. So as far as I know, they have a standard tractor beam. So that's a beam weapon here in StarMade. This one with a stop effect, if we could get it. So I think that still works. So I'm not sure exactly if the weapon update that will follow the system update will remove this as well. Then perhaps we get some sort of chamber for a stop effect. Not sure, but we'll see. So this would be then a tractor beam. Oh, and don't forget, most important one, all weapons should be green, because Borg are mainly themed green. So that would be one weapon system. And the next one, they could also drain shields. So that's also a beam, I think. Yes, also a beam. We have it, of course. And then that should have a shield drain effect. Shield supply. Oh, it's actually a beam already. So it's shield beam, drain beam, like this. You can hardly see the difference between them. This is correct, I think. Oh, that's correct. Okay, that's better. So that could have a different effect attached to it. Well, we'll see what we can do with that. And they also had a slicing beam. That is a regular beam, but we can add additional damage to it or something like that. So it's basically a damage beam in StarMade. And I think they had some sort of torpedo launchers as well. So those are basically missiles, I think. So this one, missiles. Yeah, and we can also add effects to it. In addition, I will be adding some additional defense to this cube. So we do need some AMS. So we do need some cannons for that. But I will incorporate my flat design of the AMS turret that I developed for the Blue Martin, so that you can hardly see them in the hull. That should be visibly at least better. So I think as far as the actual weapon systems go, this should be able to do it. And also we can probably use the AI of the game a bit, trick it a bit. If we have this ship as an AI controlled ship, it will fire all weapons at once. So we could, if we group these beams together, group a stop effect, a shield drain, and a slicing beam together, grouped together, and then basically fire it as one beam. Also, we could probably add a power drain to it as well. So that could include 4 weapons then for one beam. Might be nice. We'll see if we can get that done. There is one addition to the tactical cube in the design of the cube themselves that I've seen on a number of pictures. In the corners of the cube there is some sort of, looks almost like a turret or something that sticks out a bit. So we could probably add that as well. See if I can get that to look a bit like in the pictures. But I'm not exactly sure what it is able to do. Perhaps shoot some sort of cannon as well? We'll see. Okay, that's it for, I think, the offensive weapons. But Borg are of course not only known for their strong offensive weapons. The main strength of the Borg themselves is the adaptability. So if you shoot it with something, then it adapts, so it no longer works. I do think that the chamber system will give us a sense of adaptability, because you could probably make a different configuration that works better in different situations. But this does mean that we need a lot of chambers added to this power grid. We don't need them all active, but we do need to add them all, so you have the option to configure this cube the way you want for the situation you need it in. So that will have to take into account when we add the final power core, that we have enough space to connect all the chambers to it. Because you can of course add a whole bunch of power in the middle in the cube, but then we might not have enough surface area to connect everything up correctly, at least the way I want it, to make it look a bit neat and get a better overview of the systems, how they work. But that's also what we want, because we want of course to experiment with the systems. So that's what we're going to do for the adaptability. And perhaps some other things I can think of. One other thing we have to take into account as well is, for example, I did add some shields to this block already. Here we go. We've got 2 main shields just to get most of this built into a shield bubble, so it couldn't be attacked by pirates. But this is not really adaptive, at least not the way I want it, because we've got 1 shield generator and capacity block on top and 1 at the bottom. But if you take out this one, then the top half of your cube is basically gone. So we want to distribute the shield bubbles a bit more. So if you take out 1 shield, then you have other shields that still protect the rest of the cube. So that's there's no central system that you can take out to cripple the cube ID. Not sure how we're going to do that with the power, because you want a big central power core to run everything. But perhaps you can add a second one as a backup for a different setup. But we'll see if that works out or not. I do like the stabilizer setup over here. It is very spread out, because we've got 8 nodes for stabilizers. If you take out 1, okay, it's fine, but it's still stable enough to run everything. but we have to probably protect it with a bit more advanced armor in those corners. But that's for later, I think. What I want to do now is focus on the exterior first, get in the armor plating on these gray armor plates, and then start work on the what I call the scaffolding look for the dark gray part over here. And that's going to be a bit of a pain. I think we have to do some experimenting to see what works best and then continue from there. The first thing I did is remove my experiment with detailing over here, because it didn't really work out the way I wanted it. And I started editing the panels on top of the main armor plating to get a layout going of all the different sections on this area of the armor plating. Once I've got that done, I can think about detailing it further to get a bit more variation going. I'm still a bit sad that the advanced armor isn't showing up that well. I could usually in the past do a bit of detailing with advanced armor, then it would catch the light a bit more, or it was a bit darker than the regular gray armor. And using the regular gray hull is far too light, so it's not really the darker gray color I want. This should be it as far as most of the armor paneling subsections is concerned, for at least for this section. I've taken a good look at the reference pictures and then measured some of the panels in Photoshop with the picture I cropped for 300 by 300. And then, okay, just grab some measurements, looked at them by eye if it matches the reference, and then build it like this. I'm going to leave it like this for now, and after this I will concentrate on the scaffolding look that's going on in the gray area, dark gray area. Let's see if you can make that work. Well, this is my first experiment with the scaffolding look I am starting, and the basic idea behind this is when I realized that Borg are like Ogres. They're both green and they have many layers. That's the idea, at least. So I tried to create different layers of scaffolding, and then add different shapes together and see if it looks meshy enough from a distance, but also structural. It's a bit of a contradiction that the scaffolding area has if you look at a Borg ship. And also, if you look at reference images from up close of a Borg ship, everything does it every time someone draws something like that or renders something like that. They do it in a different way, so they all look different. It's your own interpretation how it should look. I wasn't really happy with the start I had going over here. It wasn't really working out the way I thought it would. So that's why I have this grid laid out on the rest of the whole section over here. Because I was thinking of doing it a bit more structurally. So I'm not sure if you can actually see it correctly on screen, but I've got a first layer of a quarter slab, squares and rectangles and things like that, to get a bit of variation going in the hull. Then I will lay out the 3 by 3 grid on top of it, and then I will add elements like this on top of it. So pipes and other square, rectangle, and whatever shapes I can think of to fill it out. And then if I place lights behind it, the light will behave differently because of the quarter blocks I placed on the actual cube itself. So the light will spread out in these lanes, left, right, and up and down, but not as much in the areas where the quarter blocks are. So that way you get a random effect. At least that's the plan. I'm not sure how well it's going to work out, but I think it's something that we can experiment with at least. Well, here you can see what I mean a bit better already. I laid out different shape on top of the 3 by 3 grid, then try to arrange them that they sort of connect but not entirely, then placed green lights behind them like this, and you can see that random green light is popping through the actual surface of the vessel, and the farther you go back, the nicer it looks, I think. You can also see the different layers now that I have going. So we've got the very detailed top layer, then we've got the 3 times 3 grid, and then we've got our quarter slabs to make the initial variation of the hull. This will also help when this ship is shot at least if it takes damage. Then it will still look nice the moment you blow off a section of the ship. At least that's the plan. Of course, the actual plan is that this cube will not be defeated because it's the Borg, and the Borg will not be defeated. At least that's the scary thing about them. But yeah, it's still StarMade, so bigger ships will come around, or someone has a very heavy Alpha Strike weapon. That's possible now with the power update, and then the ship will take damage. So we have to take that into account. At least that's my opinion. We continue to grow our detail layer and also adding the other layers. So I've completed for this side at least the base quarter slab layer. Then started adding more 3 times 3 grids to have more space for the detail layer. But you are seeing it growing and seeing the effect this will have on the entire ship. So think about it, the entire rest of the gray area in this kind of fashion, yeah, it will look good. I did add a small bit of orange light on this side, as you can see, to just give it a bit of a contrast effect. And you can see it in some images that not everything is green on a Borg cube. Actually, in the original Borg cube, there was very little green going on actually. All kinds of different colors, not only green. But yeah, you can see if you move around the cube that the lights pop in and out. And especially if we move to a darker side of the cube, you will see it a bit more clearly. That the lights really pop out then. And then you get the Borg effect, as I call it, with the green light spinning out. If you can see over here, yeah, this looks a lot more Borgified than if you would have just random crap on the gray area. Yeah, this looks a lot better. So think about it, all the cube like this. I decided to add some shield poles to the corners here that weren't shielded yet, just in case. And I noticed something in flight mode that I haven't seen yet. I've got 6 shield generators in the ship, but my shield bar on the left side of the screen is also divided in 6 particular parts of the shields. So I'm assuming that you can deplete or perhaps take out one of those shield areas, and then it will also show depleted on the bar here on the left. I haven't tested that out yet, but that's what I expect. It would be nice if you could name those shields, then you at least know where they are, because at the moment they just give coordinates and I have no clue which shield is what. It's not clear for me. So naming them would be great. What did I tell you? Does that feel Borg or does it feel Borg? This is Borg architecture, at least in my opinion. I started adding some of the other areas of the cube as well. So this top part I completed in its entirely, at least this section. Then I started adding the details on this side to get the corner done. And yeah, this is still, this detail layer is still 1 block thick. As you can see here, it's still flat basically. But I added the 3/4 block usually inside one of these armor panels to get a bit more detail going. So depending on how you move, you see a lot of detail or a lot less, like this. Then we move up again, and then you see a bit more detail because of the shadows. And this also gives me the option to, at least not an option, I'm going to do it anyway, to add an additional detail layer on top of this. So this is my base detail layer, and then I'm going to add a very open detail layer on top of it that has a bit more height to it. So some sort of machinery factory type elements with some pipes that also distort this thing, so that you don't see a lot of how do you call it, repeating elements, not necessarily repeating elements, but recognizable elements that are, for example, these pipes in here. You can easily pick them out, but if you draw a line to it, then you subdivide them in different parts. But that will also be added, but that will be done after I've done the rest of the cube. But yeah, this is also a lot of work, but I think it's worth it, but you're burning out on it real fast. So I'm doing one part at a time, and then do something else, and then do another part, etc, etc. Well, this is as far as I've gotten with this detail layer, and like I said, it's very yeah, you're burning out on it real fast to do this kind of work. But yeah, like I said, I think it's worth it. It is symmetrical in some way that, for example, the corners are mirrored, but I am going to add a unique layer to these areas over here on top, so they will not be mirrored exactly, except for these tubes I already placed here in the middle parts. But yeah, like I said, especially in the darker areas of the cube, like this really looks like a Borg ship now. Very, very scary.
We are the Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Your culture will adapt to service us. Resistance is futile.